What if I told you that 90% of the pike strikes you miss were never strikes to begin with? You know the feeling. That solid, heavy thump telegraphs up your line. Your heart jumps, you swing for the fences, and come back with nothing. Absolutely nothing. Today we are diving deep into one of the most frustrating moments in angling, the bump and run. By the end of this video, you'll understand why it happens, what the pike is actually doing, and you'll stop blaming your gear, your technique, or your luck. The truth is that bump is a message. Most anglers just don't know how to read it. So let me know in the comments right now, when a pike bumps your lure and leaves, do you think it's your fault, or was the fish just not committed? For generations, we've told ourselves the same stories. I was too slow on the hook set. My hooks aren't sharp enough. It must have been a small fish just nipping at the tail. These are the excuses we make on the boat or the bank. It's the standard fisherman's logic passed down over the years. We react by changing lures, sharpening hooks, or trying a different retrieve speed. We assume the problem is with us, the angler. We believe every single touch from a pike is a failed attempt to eat. But this core belief, this fundamental misunderstanding of pike behavior, is exactly why so many of those bumps never turn into caught fish. It's time to unlearn what we think we know. First things first, let's kill the biggest myth right now. A pike is one of the most efficient predators in fresh water. It has evolved over millions of years to be an ambush killing machine. Its entire body, from its eyes to its tail, is designed for one thing: catching prey with explosive speed and precision. Think about it. Does an animal this perfect really miss its target that often? Does a wolf miss a rabbit? Rarely. When a pike wants to eat your lure, you usually know it. The strike is violent, unmistakable. The bump, however, is something else entirely. It's a different behavior with a different purpose. So we need to stop thinking of it as a failure. So if it's not a failed bite, what is it? The most common reason for a bump is a territorial display. Pike are incredibly possessive of their chosen ambush spot. Whether it's a weed bed edge, a submerged log, or a drop-off, that's their home office. Anything that comes into that space is seen as either food, a threat, or an intruder. Your big, flashy lure isn't always interpreted as a meal. Sometimes it's seen as a competitor or an annoyance. The pike isn't trying to eat it, it's trying to push it away. It's the fish equivalent of shoving someone out of your personal space. It's a warning shot. Imagine you're standing on your front lawn and a stranger just starts walking across it. You probably wouldn't tackle them immediately. You'd likely say, "Hey, get off my lawn." A pike does the same thing, but it can't talk. So it uses its nose, or its kype. That hard, bony snout is a perfect tool for nudging things. The fish will swim up, often with its mouth closed, and give the lure a solid thump to say, "Move along." This is especially common with larger resident pike that have established a territory. They aren't hungry, they're just annoyed, and you just rang their doorbell with a big, noisy crankbait. Another major reason for the bump is simple curiosity. Pike, especially younger ones, are inquisitive. They see something strange moving through their world, something flashing, wobbling, and making noise. They don't have hands to poke and prod things. So what do they use? Their mouth. A gentle tap or a bump can be the fish's way of investigating. It's asking, what is this thing? Is it hard or soft? Is it alive? It's a sensory check, not a feeding attempt. This often feels like a very light tick on the line, almost making you question if you felt anything at all. It's the fish conducting a little science experiment. Now let's talk about the lazy bump. This happens when a pike is in a neutral or negative mood. It's not actively hunting, but it's not completely dormant either. Your lure comes by and its predatory instinct flickers, but it doesn't fully ignite. The fish might make a half-hearted swipe at the lure, almost as if it's trying to decide if it's worth the energy to chase. It's a low-commitment interaction. Think of it like you, sitting on the couch, seeing a snack on the table. You might lazily reach for it, but you're not starving. If it's too much effort, you give up. That's the pike in that moment. The size and type of your lure play a huge role in this. A massive swim bait is more likely to get a territorial bump than a small spinner. The big lure is a bigger perceived threat. It looks like a rival predator, like a smaller pike or a zander invading its space. The pike's reaction is defensive. It bumps the lure to intimidate it, to show it who's boss. The fish has zero intention of trying to swallow that lure. It just wants it gone. So if you're getting a lot of bumps on huge baits, you might be triggering a territorial response, not a feeding one. Let's move on to the follow-up. You've seen it 100 times. A pike follows your lure all the way to the boat, sitting just a foot behind it. It might even bump it right at your feet before turning away in disgust. Why? Because at that close range, the fish gets a really good look. It realizes the lure is fake. The illusion is broken. The bump, in this case, is often the final moment of decision. The fish gets close, makes a final physical check, and the hard, unnatural feel of plastic or wood confirms its suspicions. It's not food. The chase is over. Now, can a bump be a genuine missed strike? Absolutely. But it's less common than we think, and it feels different. A true failed attempt to eat is usually much more violent. You'll feel a slash more than a thump. The pike opens its mouth and attacks with intent, but for some reason it misjudges or fails to connect with the hooks. And this can happen if the lure is moving too fast, if the fish attacks from an awkward angle, or if you're using a lure with poor hook placement. You might see a huge boil in the water, a flash of green. That's a real attempt. A simple bump is usually far more subtle. Water temperature and the pike's metabolism are key factors here. In cold water, a pike's metabolism slows down. It doesn't want to expend a lot of energy for a meal, so it might approach a lure, bump it to test it, and decide the chase isn't worth the effort. It's conserving energy. This is why you often get more bumps and follows in early spring or late fall. The fish are interested, but they aren't willing to commit to the high-speed chase required to fully engulf the bait. They are being picky and lazy. Here's something most anglers never consider. The pike might be protecting its young. During and after the spawn, female pike can be extremely aggressive towards anything that comes near their spawning grounds or fry. That bump isn't about food at all. It's a motherly instinct to drive away a potential threat. You're not tempting a hungry fish, you're provoking a bodyguard. The force behind this kind of bump can be surprising, making you think it was a massive strike, but the fish never intended to eat. It was simply clearing the area. So, we've established that the bump is a message. The critical question is, what do you do next? The single biggest mistake anglers make is panicking. They feel the bump, miss the hook set, and then immediately rip the lure out of the water. They reel in as fast as they can, thinking the opportunity is lost. This is the exact opposite of what you should do. Ripping the lure away just confirms to the pike that the object was weird and not prey. Prey doesn't typically rocket away at 100 miles per hour. The second biggest mistake is immediately changing your lure. Your thought process is, well, it didn't want that one, so I'll try another. This is flawed logic. The fact that the pike interacted with your lure at all is a huge victory. It means you have the right location and your lure was interesting enough to provoke a reaction. You found a fish and you got its attention. Changing your lure is like a salesman walking away after the customer first shows interest. You were on the right track, and now you're starting all over again from scratch. So what is the correct response? It's counterintuitive but incredibly effective. Do almost nothing. If you feel a bump, pause your retrieve for a second or two. Let the lure hang there or slowly sink. This mimics an injured baitfish. A predator that bumps its prey often expects it to stun or injure it. When your lure suddenly stops or flutters, it triggers that predatory instinct. The pike, which was just curious or territorial, might now see an easy meal. That pause is often the key that turns a bump into a full-blown, rod-bending strike. If the pause doesn't work, what's plan B? Cast again to the exact same spot. Don't wait. As soon as you reel in, fire that same lure right back to where you got the bump. You know a pike is there. You know it's agitated or curious. The first cast was the introduction. The second cast is the conversation. Often the pike will hit the lure on the second or third cast with much more commitment. It's been provoked, and now it's ready to attack, either out of hunger or pure aggression. Don't give up on the spot after one bump. Let's analyze the retrieve itself. Sometimes a steady, boring retrieve is what causes the bump. The pike follows, but there's no trigger to make it bite. It gets bored and just nudges the lure before leaving. This is why incorporating twitches, pauses, and changes in speed is so important. A sudden dart or a flutter can be the trigger that turns a follower into a biter. The bump is the fish telling you, "You're boring me, do something interesting." So, on that second cast, try a more erratic retrieve. Color can also play a part, but not in the way you think. A pike doesn't bump a lure because it doesn't like the color. It bumps it because the color and flash got its attention in the first place. However, if a pike is in a negative mood, a very bright, unnatural color might be just enough to make it suspicious. It will approach, investigate with a bump, and then reject it. In this scenario, casting back with a more natural color, like a perch or roach pattern, can sometimes be the ticket. You're offering something that looks less like a threat and more like actual food. What about sound? Rattles in lures are designed to attract fish. From a distance, they work. But up close, a loud, aggressive rattle can sometimes be off-putting to a wary pike. It might draw the fish in, but the sound is too unnatural for it to commit. The bump is its way of checking out the noisemaker. If you get a bump on a rattling lure, a great follow-up tactic is to cast back to the same spot with a silent version of the same lure. This can be the subtle change that convinces the fish to eat. There's also the element of competition. If there are multiple pike in an area, a bump can be part of their social interaction. One pike might nudge a lure to claim it, warning other smaller pike away. It's not trying to eat it yet, it's just calling dibs. If you rip the lure away, the moment is lost. But if you pause it or bring it back through the area, you might trigger that competitive instinct, and the dominant fish will grab it just to make sure the others can't have it. You're using the pike's own aggression against it. We also need to consider our tackle. Sometimes the pike does try to eat, but we never feel it properly. If you're using a monofilament line with a lot of stretch or a rod that's too soft, a subtle take can be absorbed by the gear and feel like a tiny bump. The fish grabs the lure, feels the unnatural tension, and spits it out before you even realize what happened. Using a low-stretch line like braid and a sensitive graphite rod ensures that you feel everything, allowing you to distinguish a real bite from a simple nudge. Ultimately, the bump is not a failure, it is feedback. It is the fish communicating with you. It's telling you, "I'm here. I'm interested. I'm annoyed." Your job as an angler isn't to prevent the bump. Your job is to interpret it and react correctly. The real mistake isn't in your retrieve or your lure choice that caused the bump. The real mistake is what you do in the 3 seconds that follow. That is the moment that separates the great anglers from the good ones. It's a puzzle, and the bump is the first clue. So let's wrap this up. For years, we've been beating ourselves up over these missed strikes. But the hard truth is, most of them were never strikes. That bump is rarely a clumsy bite. It's a nudge, a warning, a test, or a sign of curiosity. The pike isn't failing to eat your lure, it's communicating with you through it. And here's the biggest aha moment of all. The bump isn't a failure on your part. It's a sign of success. It means a pike is there, and you've gotten its attention. Your real test as an angler begins the second after you feel that thump. This changes everything. Instead of feeling frustrated, you should feel a jolt of excitement. You've just been given a golden piece of information. You know exactly where to cast again. Thank you so much for watching. If this shifted your perspective on pike fishing, do me a favor and smash that like button and subscribe for more content that breaks down the why behind what fish do. And now for the big question to settle in the comments. After you get a bump and the fish doesn't hook up, what's your immediate next move? Do you cast again instantly? Do you change your lure? Or do you let the spot rest for a few minutes? Let's debate it.